Lee?
Shit. Which one is this?
I don't know. Which one is it? Oh, it's definitely my official one. I can already see the
What
people.
did you do?
I just let it go on. I don't know what happened.
I've got like 20 minutes now.
Where's your girl?
I don't know. She said she wanted to go to the beach. It's fine. I was saying to her now,
Interesting.
we'll probably, yeah.
What do you mean? I'm saying
I'm saying
interesting
we're probably
topic.
gonna do. Oh yeah, we're probably gonna do one now
Yes.
until I have to probably do another like a part two. But basically, this is based on the conversation that we just had now. Um, so I was saying to Mishka while you were trying to do your stuff, but most of the time it's always males that I have on here. I don't know why. I think guys are just more inclined to talk about guy stuff, or maybe they're yeah, we make more sense because I'm a guy, and I just figured, hey, maybe then it comes across as if I only have guys around me, or it's only guys that I care about. So I decided, you know what? Since the conversation that we just had now about might as well have it for the first time, like more girls and guys. So,
Mm-hmm.
which leads to the
Okay.
conversation. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell me what you think is difficult by being a woman. And I want also your girls to also respond to that so that at least it's not one sided. Because I feel as though certain times that we have conversations like this, it's always like a well, I have it worse, I have it bad, I have it worse, I have it bad, instead of actually just finding out what the yeah what the negative things are and work it from there.
Is this in comparison to men, or it's just on our
In
journeys
general,
in
mm,
isolation?
yeah, your own journey
Oh.
as females, because it's like I feel as though even for me when sometimes I bring when sometimes bring up things like women are killed or women are abused, I get very yeah, it's weird for me because it's like we know that. Why is it happening? Why do women feel that way? Um, Without the response of having this whole thought process of yes, but males are actually killed more or actually abused more. Instead of going down that route, it's like okay, well let's deal with the one side, then we deal with the other side, and we can kind of have a mutual debate instead of one where it's like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think there's collective problems that include like gruesome matters like that, where you take it to GBV and women being the target, the topic we had the
I
other
hate
day.
that word.
Yeah. So it's the broader issues of just safety of for women.
Mhm.
But I think it can also be in isolation in that women experience um issues that they deem as issues in a very subjective manner, because there's also the chat that um, what's so difficult to navigate being a woman or just womanhood is the fact that there's just so many things against you, but even women being against each other. Yeah, bo? So I mean, there's different chats when it comes to the difficulty of just navigating womanhood and what is um, like the most difficult to you, I guess, based on what you've experienced, really.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point that you made now that um, women being against each other. I think part of the reason why I don't like the feminists and I don't like the whole GBV women empowerment conversations or people is because it's not about women. I don't get the sense that it's about women. Like having females obviously in family and life. I don't think that those movements and drives are actually for women. I think it's more personal first. Then it's like similar to it's like similar to this, where it's like it's more personal first.
Hmm.
Then if it so happens to help someone else, then so be it. But I
But
don't think that.
that's like
I don't
with
think that the
everything in
point.
life. Isn't that with everything in life? Like you studied to be what you are now so that you can help people, but your career helps you first, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but exactly that. And I think that so the thing is this then is that with saying that I understand the need for the cry for women obviously to have a voice and to have more of a voice and so on and so forth, right? But then I don't agree with it when it's either at the expense of someone else, right? So the reason again that I don't
Okay.
like so it's like again it's like if I have a sister, right? I don't want to have a law that's going to protect her but then hurt my brother. You understand?
Like
So
which, if give me an example of a law that would do that.
no, well I'm not well I can go through many. I don't have some at the top of my head now, but like say something like consent, for example. I don't want to get too deep into it, but again, say something like consent. It's something whereby
Yeah.
it will protect females, right? Because obviously, in a situation like an abuse or something, there will be more females that are going to be violated. But then you have then a
Yeah.
massive amount of guys that then don't get hurt. Yeah, which goes back to a
Hmm.
conversation I had previously with another woman to say that, well, the men that aren't doing any of this, which is the majority of the men, just don't know what to do anymore because then they'll just get
Yeah.
blamed for every other person's deeds. So, yeah, so that's one thing. So the reason why like I'm not very so against it now is because I don't want it to get to a point where, yes, we're protecting women and I want to protect my sister. But then again, I don't want to protect my sister to a point whereby then protecting her actually then hurts my brother or hurts my uncles type of thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, but then then in order for me to understand why it gets that way, it's the reason why then I want to find out what actually is it that like how is a woman's journey. Yeah, like what is it that is so, or what are the things that are so difficult in life for a woman? Because as a guy, like we talked about now, man, like you kind of can skate through life pretty much and decide whenever you wanna grow up.
Yeah.
But what is it that, like for women, that you find that get is very difficult to process or to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean that's a very subjective thing. But overall, I think what happens in the end is that when you look at an example like I think one that a lot can relate to is just how you navigate life as a woman from just like varsity going into this whole phase that there should be levels to life, that you first like graduate and then you get married and then you have your kids. And if that system is messed up, then you feel like you're behind or that there's something wrong with you. Um, um, or just something in those lines. Or if you divorce, then who's gonna want you? Like who wants a divorcee? Things like that. And I think a lot of women can relate to just the complexity of that system, that it should be this way. It's like, who created that anyway, right? But then again, you think about the fact that actually when I do want to have kids, I only really have so much time. So what does this really mean? It means that this ridiculous system that's placed there, it is there, yes, but um, there's parts of it which should be like a wake up call for women, because nyanike, if you can really only have kids, like healthy kids between 30 and 42, then the conversations of the steps that you need to be taking have to happen in your head or in your circles sometime. But it's then another conversation of how do you get there? Who do you need to be able to get to that point? Because as it sits, not every woman is in that phase where they've graduated, they've married, they've got kids, they've got a nice career, and it's moving swiftly. So yes, it's still subjective, but that phase process just feels like something that every woman can relate to and every woman should be going through. Because if you don't, then you end up as the single person who has no family. Which, so for some people, they'll say it's okay because I don't want to have a family. That's not my motive. That's not my goal in life. Or they don't want companionship. I don't know who doesn't, because I think everybody does. But I mean, others will argue against that. Yeah, well, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but I think one that we relate to, it's definitely on this phase process that is there.
Do you feel scared, like as a woman, like to go outside and stuff? Someone once told me that women are scared to walk outside. So
I think it depends. In where I am, I think it depends as to where I am at that specific time and what time is it, what area. Kobane. Um, but I know that there's been times where if my Uber driver drops me off or friends, I'll ask them to wait for me until they can see that I'm inside, because obviously I'm scared that there could be, I don't know, a man jumping from some wall during the night. And yeah, so I think it depends on location. Otherwise, it is a logical fear, and it does happen.
and there's a is well you yeah Uber drivers is a good one actually. Um, so you ask, is it like normally during the day, during the night, or it doesn't matter or you
Not
ask for them
necessarily,
to work
it's
it?
not necessarily just during the night. It happens during the day as well. Like I said, it's very location dependent. Yeah, I think more than anything, it's location. And
But then
then the,
you're not scared of a woman to pop out of anywhere to come and do something.
I mean, the first thing you think about is that a man would do it.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. So then a lot of the fears come from the fact that you kind of already know that or have a sense that men are always going to try and do something, put you in a situation whereby you don't want to be.
Well, it comes from the fact that we've seen that men that we've seen that there's women who've died in the hands of men in specific situations that you are going to look at and try to avoid.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then that then creates, and yeah, that creates a mindset that then, men are dangerous or the world is dangerous and it's dangerous because there are men that are
Because
dangerous.
there's been a pattern. Pattern creates normality. And once it's normalized, it becomes that, right? So because we know this to happen as often as it does from a specific kind of group, that gets normalized. So that's why
Do you,
you won't wake up and the first thing when people speak about GBV or abuse in relationships, you don't automatically think it's the women abusing the men. Although it happens, you think of it as the men abusing the women because that's the majority. Hence, therefore, being normalized as that being that. Yeah, well,
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that's the fear that women have towards men is rooted in that. Is rooted in the fact that the patterns
Yeah,
stipulate that men do.
definitely. I think so because if it was women in all the stats that are available, if they said at night these are the cases that happen, be, or the news that are being shared state that women do this at night, then obviously you will be aware of that. That's the information you'll consume. That's the patterns you would know of, and then you'll try and avoid. And that's what you're gonna know that okay, go nine. I can't walk around in observatory because the specific women that have been around in the area, and they said that they will take your what. That's what you're gonna know, and
Do
that's what you're
you
gonna try and avoid.
do you think that there's guys that go out there and they target women specifically because they're women?
Do I think what? Sorry, please repeat that.
Do you think that there are guys that go out and target women, particularly because they're women,
Yes.
and they
Who are
wouldn't do that to other guys?
who are the
Why
rapists?
do you think the reason that is?
I think I should hear that from men.
Or from those men that do it?
Exactly.
Maybe we should get a guy that does stuff like that to come and answer.
I think we should. I think we should get a reformed rapist, for example, to answer that question. Somebody that we know has done it, or the only thing we can do is formulate a hypothesis on why that's the case.
Here's another question then. Do you think that you're able to do that? Do you think that you'll be able to, like, you would be able to, say, abduct someone as an Uber driver? Do you
Do
think
you think?
females are able to do that? Okay, let
I
me not
think
say you. Do
I
you
think
think?
everyone is capable of doing like anything really.
Yeah. Okay. So then maybe then from finding well, so from that question then perhaps then the reason why these guys do these things, right, is probably because that everyone would do it, but perhaps they just have a small or a lower sensitivity to stuff like that. So therefore, it's almost like they would do it first.
But also, when you look at, for example, when that question comes up, I look at rapists, right? Who rapes? generally. When you
Males.
exactly right, and it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense in a physical sense, mashali up beyond the
Mm-hmm.
logical. Sorry, as to why do you do it. Before we get there, the physical attribution of a male, this is a woman. Rapist up. It's like, come on, like, duh,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It seems like a very like, duh type of question. Like, why are you asking that? Like, who else would be the rapist in this scenario? And then other scenarios, I think they can be of discussion, but okay, can it be the other way around? But when it comes to rape, I think it's a very, like, you can't try and almost like try and reason it. Like, it is what it is. It is that males tend to be the ones who rape women. Yes, we're
Okay.
not saying that women are never capable of such, because I mean, I've seen stories. I know one actually personally where the experience was the other way around. Go on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay. So, because I've been trying to figure out why is it that again, like why is it that there's such a fight against males in that regard? And I can understand a bit as to why. Again, what you're saying is even if I rock up into a situation where there's a guy and a girl, and then someone says, "Hey, look, who hit who?" without maybe seeing them, right? Automatically, I would think it's probably the guy because if the
Definitely.
if any situation, if the woman were to hit the man, right, the man would if he was generally if he was strong or hard enough, I mean hard enough, if he was strong or aggressive enough, he would hit her regardless,
Mm,
right? So that's the thought processes that you think of. But now, in that sense, I can then understand as to why the sensitivity when it comes to um, the females and the males that are fighting this whole, hate this term, GBV thing, right? But now again, my whole issue with that is the fact that then you don't want to then overcompensate to the point where then you're protecting or you think you are protecting a specific group of people, but then hurting the others. But by then hurting them, you're actually then making them even more sensitive to then retaliation.
but how, Louis? Give me an example.
Yeah,
How
so look,
how would that happen?
okay, so here's an example. So like let's say you're a woman, right? And you go and hit a man.
Mm-hmm.
What are you smiling?
Okay.
Why are you smiling?
No, I'm not smiling. You said, let's say you're a woman, and I said, which I am.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're a woman then, and you go and hit a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so first of all, as a guy, I want to protect the females. Let's say because females have been beaten up so many times, I always want to then protect the females, right? But now what happens is that then if you make it so hard for the other person to then be able to say, "Hey, look, I've been hit too," right? Then they say, "Look, what options do I have? If this person hits me, right? I get into a situation now where if I retaliate, I'm gone. Like that's it for me because my voice won't be heard because everyone else is kind of that's on the same boat as me as being labeled like this. So I'm gone, right? So it's either I don't retaliate at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which then will have then an impact on the person hitting you because then she could then hit you even more because like you're not retaliating, so what? To the point where then when you do it back, right? You know that you're going. right? Which could then lead to then epic proportions of things,
Yeah.
right? It's almost like, can you hear me? Oh, it's almost like cornering a
Can hear
lion
you.
type of thing. Yeah, it's almost like cornering a lion type of thing, where the only option out is to go through you. You
Mm.
understand? Because I think
When
I try
I
to think
know
about
of,
it, and I think to the point. Sorry, I'm thinking to the point like not like to get to a situation whereby you would do some of these vile acts to other people. You really have to like either be mad crazy or you have to be pushed to the point where those are your options.
yeah, unless
So then to
unless
be
you
pushed,
just a violent person anyway.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so unless obviously you're just very mad violent, right? Which would then you just look at the person's history and see if he's been violent. But there's someone that's like snaps once, for example, right? You think to yourself, man, in order to do that, perhaps you, because even if anyone, if for like when if I ask anyone else, you or someone else, what would be the precursors for you to do something very, very vile to someone else? You can think of something and say, oh, if someone does this to me, I could probably see myself doing that,
Yeah, I think.
right? So,
I mean, there's a level of getting to that point for everybody, but it hard. Okay, I would say it's not something that would just happen every day, every other day. It would really take like I don't know how many times or something very like hectic, but for any other person, for example, when you think about when a male hits, I don't know, anybody, like what it took for them to get there. If they're generally very violent, that won't be something that you're gonna look at and be like, "Hi man, umbethele ndoni." Ukubone. It should be something that if Hindobana, you're like, okay, yes, that made sense that the person really got to that point where they were really aggravated. When you hear it, when the story is being told, now you need to be like, yo, I wonder that was hectic. Ukubone. Not like any other everyday thing, which is what's happening. It's that uh, people are beating other people up, whether they're male or female, but majority male beating women for like senseless reasons. It's either their ego is hurt or they've seen a woman cheat on them, and you're like, bro, really for that? I think when the conversation goes on and then you hear that reasoning, because I mean there's never a reason, there's never a reason to lay your hand, right, as people state. But I think when you can even listen to the reason and be like, yo, I don't need, then I think that person can be labeled as a violent person that needs to be locked up, because I now where you're going like you're going beyond things that people won't even do, because I literally society, there's things that we accept and there's things that we find as gruesome. So if yours goes to an extent where it's not even understandable in societal terms, then it's like that's it. There's clearly something wrong with you. Yeah, Bo?
mm, no, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah, very much so agree with you because yeah, I know what you're talking about. People that get to a point where, I cheated on you and then boom, I'm already just, annihilating you type of thing.
Exactly.
There's
That
certain
cut
things.
you 10 times before the gold chain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, so you get some stuff where you're like, oh, nah, no, not at all. Like something has to be done, which is why then I understand the fight or the uprising of females, um, feminism, and this whole woman GBV violence thing,
Yeah,
um, against men, right? Because it doesn't take that much, or it doesn't take as much as women to kind of lay a strong hand, right?
exactly. Exactly.
But with females, they lay a hand very easily, but it's just not strong enough. right?
Okay,
To cause
so
damage.
okay.
Okay, so yeah, but so for a guy, when he then gets to that point, it's like, yeah, there's damage, right? And that's kind of then the issue. So those ones I totally understand. So I totally understand when it gets to that point where you kind of you need to kind of do something about people that do stuff like this, right? And
You
in
that's
saying
the
that as
thing.
well,
Yeah, but sorry to cut you off there. It's the fact that it's normalized that that is what's happening. There's
true,
people who beat other people for reasoning that doesn't make sense, for things that just are nonsensical. Ukubone. And that is
true,
normalized. And when
true.
women cry, for example, and say, yo, ndibethiwe, ngumuntu wami, and they always want to know, but what did you do? And even if you tell them
Mhm.
that reason, it's like there was no reason for that.
Mhm.
Especially if the
True.
example that we're basing it on oh, he caught me cheating, but he's been cheating now because I did it
Mhm.
once. Then he's going to decide to lay a hand on me. Ukubone, that
True.
those
Yeah.
nonsensical reasons have been normalized, and it's happening more often than not. Ukubone.
Yeah. So in that, when it comes to that, definitely. So I then can understand the outcry, and I can understand the need for some sort of um, control, right? Because again, like I said, I have sisters and I have females in the family, so I wouldn't want them to go through something like that at all. So there needs
Yeah.
to be an outcry for it. And if something like that does happen, it's an issue. Now I'm speaking about more about the extremes then, right? So first of all, a retaliation for something like that, or a control method for something like that, shouldn't then be something that's going to then do the opposite to the other people, right? So again, for instance, if you're gonna say that guys that get triggered by a woman speaking badly to him and then he puts his hand up, right? Then it's like, look, man, even if like it doesn't, you should never put a hand up for anyone for anything,
Yeah.
especially for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're gonna then say that even if he puts his hand up without laying it, that then he should go to jail, for example, right? Then every person that does that will then go to jail,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Cool. But that also then means that then the woman as well should then suffer the same consequences,
Okay.
which is the opposite outcry, which is what I'd say again is that, look, I'm trying to protect my sister, but at the same time, if she gets cheated on and then beats up a guy, then she
Okay.
should go to jail.
So I think where that can go to is understanding that for females, there are things that um, are for you, and there are things that are not for you, against you in life, right? And understanding that certain systems allow you to thrive, but some systems don't. And you being aware of that, right? And playing the system in a way that will benefit you. Now, when it comes to males, and they know that the stats say males are the ones who are most likely to beat up a woman. They know that when there is a situation where they'll get into a fight with the woman, that they're probably going to get the half end of the stick. Then that's
Uh-huh.
when the system is not for you. And it's for you to then
Yeah.
understand, but let me not put myself in a situation like this. Let me not be in predicaments to be at a point where the system will be against me. The same way that I will maneuver systems that are against me and ensure that, like earlier on, we spoke about how difficult it is to navigate womanhood and just the process of navigating whether you want a family, how do you want a family, how do you um, carefully thread all of that, and realizing that that system can easily turn against you or it can be for you, in that time is against you, what kind of person you want. It's knowing that system is not really for you, so you thread it in a way that can be for you. Now with males, they can do the same things with things that the systems that are against them. They know that if we obambisa and uzotiba, this is what happened, she laid her hand on me first, etc. You know that iyayenzeka loo nto, But if you're gonna still be in that situation or allow yourself to even get into that situation, then it means you guys need to create spaces for yourselves to have outcries for why these things happen this way. Do something. It's either you accept the system as it is and maneuver it in a way where you don't have to put yourself in that, or create your own movements and do something about it, you know?
Yeah, okay. So quite a lot. But so the first thing there was that, yeah, again, totally agree in it. Um, if so, it's exactly what you said earlier about the females. They know that there's certain systems that's against them, but you don't want it to be um, normalized. The same with males. You don't want things like that to be normalized, whereby whenever you go to the police station and say something against the female, then you'll be laughed off. You don't want that to be normalized, right?
Then what are
But
you
there's a
doing?
certain, yes, yes. So now let's get to the extremes that I'm talking about, right? Is that I get the sense that most of these guys that absolutely go all the way out and do the most craziest things that aren't crazy, right? So that aren't psychologically, medically um, mad, get to a point whereby they're in a corner and there's nothing else to do to them or for them other than to absolutely just go through the target, right? Whether it's a male or a female. So the guys that, for instance, like gangsters, for example, when they get into situations whereby, look, it's either you shoot your way out or you stay here and get shot. It's
Mm,
whether you've had a kill or not in your life, you get to that point where it's either that or not, right? Or you're in a fight, for example, and someone has a knife. It's like, how's it going to end? Or someone's going to have to stop fighting. Or how are they going to stop if they have a knife? Probably going to have to
yeah.
kill them or stab them, whatever it is. So, in a situation then whereby certain guys get to points like that, I do think that there's certain times whereby they're pushed into a corner whereby they're thinking, look, if let's say this person is hitting this guy and he then hits her back and realizes, oh, it's game over for me, right? And then she absolutely goes haywire on him. He knows, look, I'm gone, man, regardless of what
So
happens.
now, so if you're basing it on that and you say either way I'm gone now, is it because you hit back, or is it because what? In what context?
Yeah, so if, whether it's hit, yeah. So when you do something back to someone else, right, which then puts you in a corner where you think that, look, what am I gonna do? Like, what choice do you have in this situation? She's gonna go to the police station. She's telling you right now she's gonna go to the police station, or either, what do you call this? Accuse you of sexual assault, or accuse you of what do you call this? Normal, just common assault, right? Or
Okay.
attempted murder, whatever it is, right? And you're thinking, look, if she goes there or this person goes there, I'm looking at 15 to 20, right?
Yes. So my thing is that if you as males are aware that there is certain aspects about systems that put you guys in corners, in the same way we've acknowledged that there's specific things in the systems where when we don't feel safe and we are crying and we're saying this is what's happening, then we create hashtags, we create outcries that are always seen as us like just wanting to be exclusive, but it's really just a cry for help. Why are males not doing the same thing?
Mm-hmm. That's a good place to
Yeah,
end that off.
yeah,
I'll finish this off a bit later. I want to answer that question.
yeah,
All right. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you later. Actually,
Sure.
wait, maybe in
Okay.
the next 30 to 45 minutes, 45 minutes, but I'll answer that.
Okay. Sure.
All right.